But theme park has some potential. I don't immediately hate it.
Yeah. Well, you are going to be able to play it in ranked playlists now. We recently
right.
updated the ranked playlist to include the 9 Pro League maps and our new seasonal map theme park. So you will not have to play casual or custom games to have a chance to run through it, which we're all really excited about.
Yes, for sure.
And it's going to be a lot of fun.
And it doesn't.
We are.
You know?
It feels good.
It's great to have you here. So thank you all again, and we will see you tomorrow. We're going to be discussing the attacking operator Ying and her Candela charges, her Candela device, as well as the new recoil changes that we're going to be looking at in the future.
Those are very good.
We have not talked about this yet anywhere, and it is not coming with Season 3, but it is something that we're looking towards for the future in Year 2, maybe the beginning of Year 3, but it should be. Hey everybody, my name is Craig Robinson, community developer on Rainbow Six Siege. I'm joined here by Derek Punji Stick Mallon,
who is not on his phone,
and Christopher Panky Pankhurst.
Just like old times.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you
Nothing
guys for
has
joining me today.
Nothing has changed.
We're going to talk about Operation Health, where we've been, where we're heading, Blood Orchid, and kind of the future of Rainbow Six Siege today. So thank you for tuning in, and let's kind of dive right into it. So Operation Health, we took 3 months. We pushed back the DLC, and we spent 3 months really improving the infrastructure and the core things that we needed to in order to sustain our game for the foreseeable future in the years to come. What were you guys' initial thoughts on Operation Health, and how did you feel like it ended with the 3.0 patch?
I mean, my initial thoughts were great. This is unheard of for a AAA developer, something like Ubisoft, to look at their game and say, it has issues, and we're going to delay content and fix those issues. To see just that attitude is a huge step forward in game development of that kind of scale, and that alone was brilliant. Then we had a few patches come out, and of course they weren't so forward-facing in their results. The bug fixes and the changes weren't necessarily there. It was all underlaying stuff. It was a case of, all right, well, we'll wait for the whole operation to finish, and now we have that final patch here, and the notes are huge, and the changes are unprecedented.
50 pages long.
Yeah,
such a good feeling.
Pages, right?
50 pages long,
pages
yes.
of notes.
Yeah. What about you, Derek? What are your thoughts on
I mean, definitely same initial reaction as Panky. To see a giant AAA game decide that they're going to not release content for a little bit is obviously initially hurt some people, but personally, I just saw it immediately as like, they're serious about this game. Like, you guys are serious about keeping it running for way more than a year, way more than 2 years. Like, you want to see this game last.
Absolutely. So, yeah, years to come. Ready to go. And then, so with the Blood Orchid patch 3.0, we initially tested on the technical test server, so you guys have had a chance to play it a bit. What were your initial thoughts and feelings, Derek?
Initial thoughts and feelings were, it feels amazing. I mean, like, seeing the initial patch notes come out, that's like, you know, kind of almost talking it up too much. And you're like, okay, well, let's have realistic expectations. It's still a video game, you know. It's a video game in 2017. But, I mean, the lighting is incredible now. The new map is a lot of fun. It's complicated, but it doesn't seem bad, you know, just like a lot to learn. The new operators are interesting and cool and dynamic, but they don't immediately strike me as, whoa, why the hell would they put this in the game? So, I don't know. Really, really good patch so far.
Awesome.
I agree with what Derek said. I read the patch notes and went, all right, these sound great, but see it in action. The lighting one was the biggest one for me. It's like, all right, we've had a lot of lighting changes throughout the other patches. They haven't made the biggest changes. It's been asked for a long, long time. These screenshots that we saw in the patch notes looked good, but what's it like in a real game? And I jumped in and I played some of on the test server, some of the original maps, not theme park. And while I knew and had read the patch notes, knowing the lighting thing was there, I didn't immediately notice it. I just started playing the maps, and it just felt good. I just played, and I didn't think why. It wasn't until I'd stopped and thought back and went, I could see everything. Like, there wasn't any moments where I got frustrated by being blind or I couldn't quite. It just suddenly felt natural to play on these maps, and I could see everything I needed to see. And to get that feeling, one, was brilliant because it's what I want the game to be, but to get that feeling despite knowing that was in the patch notes was just beautiful to feel how natural it felt without being a jarring experience from the old patch to the new patch. It just felt right.
Right, it wasn't like some new game. It was just like, wow, it's good that, you know, even though we lost a couple ACOGs, I can actually see some stuff with 1Xs now.
No, I think you're going to be able to adapt just fine.
Yeah, I think I'll be fine.
I play Rook all the time anyway. I can keep my ACOG.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
My P90 with a suppressor on dock while roaming still has an ACOG. So,
awesome. So we're going to jump into some gameplay for Ella, our new Grom operator. And she is a member of Grom, the CTU, She is the first Polish operator to release. The second Polish operator will be with the next DLC. So what are your guys' initial thoughts? Chris, what do you think about her weapon loadout?
I love the SMG. I didn't get much of a chance to play with the shotgun in a combat experience, but all the shotguns got overhauled for destruction, and that felt wonderful. Especially with the last set of operators, with the Spanish set, Mira and Jackal, their shotgun didn't really make very big holes. Now it makes huge holes and can do a lot of damage. But playing Ella again, her SMG here is a monster. 51 rounds at that kind of fire rate just tore through opponents and made her a headshot machine. And using the gadget, using those concussion grenades to set up little traps where people thought they were safe to run in, and there's no obvious things, there's no frost traps, there's no barbed wire, they're sprinting through and think there's completely free roam. To have this blow up in their face and completely throw them off guard was a wonderful experience, and then pop out and just spray them down with the Scorpion.
Derek, what are your thoughts on the
I mean, initially, just like the gun itself is really good, real fun. I almost worry maybe a tiny bit too powerful. Like it's an SMG-11 with 51 rounds in it, so it's the thing is a beast. Yeah. Her device is super dynamic, really fun. You can use it very passively, or you can use it right up in people's face. You know, you can set traps, or just be like, well, there's a guy around the corner. I'll just whip this here, boom. Right. And
so you found yourself not always using or deploying all of her mines and kind of saving a couple.
Yeah, like one or two, get it out there to watch a couple entrances, things like that, but keeping one or two on you is, I think, going to be just as useful as deploying them somewhere.
Right.
And the iron sights aren't terrible either.
Like the iron sights?
You can see stuff.
Excellent.
The iron sights are okay. I still don't know how you played it with iron sights. I still
oh yeah, I can't do it at all, but I had to try them on all the new guns at least, see what they look like.
Give them a shot.
Yeah. What did you guys think about her other primary weapon? Did you have a chance to use it on the TTS or no?
The shotgun, I didn't use it too much, but the fact that it has a extended barrel, and it's got the extended barrel and the suppressor option are pretty interesting for shotguns. We haven't seen extended barrels in shotguns at all before, and it definitely did make a range difference in the tightness of the spread of it. So it's kind of cool, but again, it's hard to really consider using a different gun when she has that such a high fire rate gun.
Now, speaking of shotguns, there was some changes to how destructive they are. What are your thoughts on that as far as remodeling goes?
It's brilliant. It's, as I said, opened up a wider range of operators to do that job. Previously, we're seeing on the top tier competitive level, it would be a smoke with a shotgun. That's your option, because the shotgun did the most destruction, and he has great gadgets to then spend all the prep phase on the site and some of the early part of the round on the site, just making more and more holes, and then being that anchor at the end. But now we can use operators like, say, Mira, who also sits on the side a long time, and her shotgun now actually makes holes in things. So she can play that role, and you can perhaps switch the smoke out for something else a little bit different and have a other option in your arsenal. Or, as I say, many of the other operators, some of these new guys, in fact, that have also got brand new shotguns, which, while they can deal damage to people, previously didn't have the greatest time going through walls. Right. Now, there's no doubt that I have a shotgun, I can make holes in walls. Like, they all do the same job.
Yep. Awesome. And do you see that destructive force with shotguns being used more in a competitive scene, high-level ranked play?
Again, similarly to how Smoke was before, I suspect we'll see it on more likely Mirror operators that have that strong secondary, in Smoke's case, the SMG-11, but the Vector, especially since the SMG-11's got 2 extra magazines now, and the shotgun will stick for destruction and remodeling, less for combat. But there's still a possibility that 1 or 2 teams will find a situation in which, especially with conjunction with some of these new operators, you can use a shotgun in very close quarters to take operators down. But because of the random spread involved with shotguns, which comes in everything, they're not always the most reliable for that combat experience. And a fast-firing SMG for a headshot, because of how important headshots are in this game, is most likely going to be the more reliable choice.
Right. So, Derek, how do you feel like Ella is going to kind of come into play with the high-level ranked play as well as competitive play?
Sorry, could you say that one more time?
How do you feel like Ella is going to come into play with the competitive scene and high-level ranked play?
I definitely see her being useful as a roamer. I mean, her ability to get out of sticky situations by hanging onto a couple of her cotton candy devices there, and the ability to lay traps for people that are droning around and trying to push her out of places. You know, the standard high-level competitive gameplay is drone out, find where roamers are, cut them down quickly, and then move to the bomb site, set up, and get in. I think she'll be able to delay a lot of time with that. Like a good Ella player will be able to stop people and catch them off guard with I mean, those traps hide very well, and they go off like up to like 5 meters.
4 meters, I think.
4 meters. Yeah, so it's they can cover big hallways, like pretty broad entrances, things like that, and you know, they're very hard to drone out and find while you're also trying to drone out a roamer with 3 minutes to do it.
Absolutely. So. Especially now that Bandit's charged wire does one-shot.
One-hit drones.
Right, yeah.
So,
sure.
Interesting.
And her weapon has the angled foregrip,
yep.
which we're seeing more of now. And I personally love those. I mean, with that fire rate and the 3-speed and the angled foregrip, you can get up and react extremely quickly.
Absolutely.
You know?
And I mean, you saw right there how easy it was to hide that gadget between the locker and the fire.
Yeah, there's no way someone can get through that doorway and shoot that charge.
Exactly.
Like, even if an IQ can detect it with a gadget, there's nothing she can do
They've
about
got to do
other
a full
than
180 to shoot it and then turn back around and play. And I don't even know that you could really hit it without it going off.
Oh, no, you couldn't. There is no way to destroy that trap you just put there behind that little fire extinguisher without it triggering.
You'd have to
it has to be a Twitch trigger, it has to be an EMP.
And
when you've got 4 of those mines and 3 EMPs, and you're most likely using EMPs on things like mute charges or bandit charges to open walls and stuff, her traps become more and more powerful with every EMP gets thrown.
Right, yeah. Twitch drones have a big job if they want to.
Yes, they do. Did you ever have a chance to use? She holds on to one of her concussion devices after you've used all of them, and you can detonate it when you're down. Did you have a chance to use it on anybody?
I am a big fan of that. I didn't really know how effective it was. I think it definitely caught people off guard the first time, but I think ultimately once people get used to it, it's not going to prove to be that impactful, but it is definitely hilarious.
Yeah, it's going to be a silly one if someone like. We've all been in situations where we run around a corner and, oh my god, there's a person there, and you suddenly get shot. And, okay, if you can hit that button quick enough, they'll have an amusing interaction. But the chance of it having any real impact in the situation is not going to happen.
It will certainly be very hype if it does. If we're watching a pro
the one opportunity where you see a high-level competitive game where that's the pivoting point, it would explode. But
absolutely,
she's
the reality.
Bleeding out around the corner. Guy comes, I'm going to go get rid of Ella real. Boof!
Yeah, but... no, the real-world implications of that, not there. Maybe if it gets changed in the future and she can, say, throw one more from that position once she's down, throwing one more final charge, maybe we can see something there. But while it's just held on her body, no one's going to get close enough for that to really be an impact.
Well, that makes sense. At least not in high-level play, at least.
Yeah.
Maybe in, like, casual.
It'll get away with some weird plays and matchmaking for sure. But
and those cocky players that are trying to get that knife kill at the end.
Right.
Oh yeah, that will be funny.
Yeah. But as you say, once people get used to it being an Ella, they're not going to do that anymore.
Yeah. Well, absolutely not. So overall thoughts on Ella?
Definitely, in my opinion, the strongest of the 3 new operators. Without a doubt, I think she will definitely be the most picked for high-level gameplay now. Of the 3 at where they are now and where I see, I guess, the meta going. But, yeah, I like her a lot.
No? Chris?
I agree on the ranked play, high-level ranked play. She's going to be picked a lot and very, very often. But I think as far as competition and organized play goes, Ying might just beat her to the best of the 3.
On attack?
Yeah, on attack. Yeah, and then we're talking about her tomorrow. But when we're talking about
best of the 3 total.
Best of the 3 total, I think Ying's just that little bit better. But of the 2 defenders, yes, Ella is definitely definitely
without a
doubt.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. So now we're going to jump into Lesion's gameplay. He is the second Hong Kong operator that will be released with Operation Blood Orchid, and he has a device that releases like a toxic mine.
It's like a punchy stick, really.
Yes,
I think it's in the description that it has a little like orientation from.
It is indeed. It's so fitting that we have you here.
It's about time. It's about time I got recognized.
Yeah, something like that. It deals damage over time. You're able to remove the needles, but it should be. You should. It's a really interesting gadget. Now, first off, though, thoughts on the weapon loadout.
It's another very strong SMG, not quite on par with the Scorpion, the slightly lower fire rate and lower ammunition, but it's still an SMG that fires pretty quickly and can headshot easily. No recoil, simple to use. And again, he's got a similar shotgun, which not great in a combat situation, as most of them are at the moment, but can destroy walls and can be used for making these rotate holes and then switching back to his primary SMG for actual combat fights. So he's going to have use in that sense. But yeah, as I say, once you hit his gadget, then it starts to get a bit weaker.
Right, Derek?
I mean, the guns, he basically just nailed it. So I have literally nothing to add with that. It's a good SMG. It's not the best one in the game. It definitely doesn't beat Ella's.
I have to giggle. There's no goo remaining on the screen. No goo.
And then I was sitting there realizing that circle moves just a little bit slower than I expected it to. So I'm just like, oh, it's almost there. I'll just wait a sec. It's still
15 seconds later.
There we go. There we go.
What do you guys think about the recharging mechanic for his gadget? It's the first
really
time we've ever had something like that in the game. And
I think it opens a lot of doors for other creative ideas with operators like that. And it shows, like, what the team is capable of coming up. I think the biggest skeptic thing everyone has is like, how are there going to be 50 unique operators in the game, or 100, or however many the company goes for? I don't know. I think it's a cool mechanic.
Yeah, it's certainly a nice idea to look at, and you start applying that kind of mechanic to operators that are already there. Like, think if you put that on something like Smoke, which he's similar to, but with the Smoke charges being bigger and more damaging, like you think of how strong that would make such an operator, and you look at what you can do with that in future ideas, and even to say with his goo mines, while I don't believe they're quite right at the moment, with a little bit of tweaking here and there, to have 7 of them on the map at one point can be very, very powerful once we learn the best way to use them and the best opportunity for them.
It's introducing this new idea that there's an operator that might raise in priority to take out. You know, like IQ. You want to get rid of goo early on so that he's becoming more and more powerful as it goes on. You know, it kind of introduces that concept, which is very cool.
Now, speaking of trying to detect these goo mines, do you feel like that's going to increase the pick rate for an operator like IQ?
I think that comes down to the pick rate of Lesion. If he does get played a lot, then yes, obviously IQ or even just Twitch drone with a very keen eye on the floor will get more and more used to clear out these early traps. But I don't feel like Legion's going to have the pick rate high enough himself to warrant that opportunity. However, Ella is going to have a higher pick rate, and you're going to need the IQ, I think, to find her traps. So yes, we'll see more of an IQ, just not for Lesion.
I think initially, I'm kind of glad that he's a little bit underpowered, because it's such a unique mechanic that if he came out overpowered, it would be a rough however long until the nerf comes. You know, it'd be very difficult to deal with 7 of those in the game if they were really strong.
Right. Yeah,
but so I do definitely like Panky's kind of hinting towards, and like we both experienced playing it, he's probably going to be considered relatively weak and not that high of a pick, so I don't think he'll impact IQ really much at all. But I do think that it is a very cool device that could use a little bit of tweaking and become a very viable option.
What would you like to see happen to that?
We talked about a few things. I think definitely, in my opinion, first and foremost would be just a slightly bigger radius, at least enough to block staircases, things like that. The biggest issue that I see is that his device isn't reliable to tell you and give you information, because if people do manage to just walk by it right through a doorway, right through a staircase, then it's almost worse than not having it at all, because now you think you're safe and somebody just walks up right behind you.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, the only other thing I think is potentially a slightly longer time on pulling the needle out again. 1.5 seconds sounds like a long time, but it's not really, unless you have someone watching that one specific trap for it to be triggered the whole time. If you've got, say, 3 around you, you've got to take in, okay, which one was triggered? Okay, how do I have to get to that angle to get this person triggered? And they've had a chance to pull it out, and they're back in a gun-ready position to fight you. Something like, say, frost traps, the power in those comes in someone's been down in the frost trap, all right, it takes a good 3 seconds to revive someone on that. I forget the exact time, but it's a long time to revive someone in there. So if you're going to challenge a frost trap against an organized team, say, all right, I can't just run blindly in here. There's probably a second operator there. Has he revived his teammate? Is he in the middle of reviving his teammate, or is he there waiting for me? With the goo that comes down and say, all right, it's gone off. He's almost certainly pulled it out already and he's ready to fight me again, because it's so very fast. So maybe a slightly longer time on pulling that needle out to make that decision for the person that's trodden in it more of an active one. So do I take this time to pull it out, or do I eat the damage and take the firefight first? Having that decision be more prominent really impacts how you play against an operator like Lesion.
And Derek, you'd mentioned the intelligence gathering aspect of Lesion and also Ella. How do you feel like that is going to factor into the overall meta for high-level play?
I think it's kind of like a new take on drones, effectively, for defenders. You know, Echo has a drone, but Echo hasn't seen a ton of play. But these operators are cool because another really unique thing about Lesion is that you can actually see his devices through the walls. So Ella's, of course, you can memorize where they are, know when they go off, and assume where they are based on sound. But you know, especially at a competitive level, you won't see the 10 points when one goes off, so you won't know unless you're within earshot of it. Whereas Legion's device, no matter what, even at the highest level, if they, like we said, were a little bit more reliable, like just there, you know he walks through the door that exact second, stand up, peek, kill him immediately, because you can aim right at it. You can see exactly where it is through the wall. It's kind of like a preemptive, like you know where their face is going to be exactly.
Yeah, so interesting. Chris?
Yep, no, 100% agree on that. Like, while the damage is negligible and pulling needle out is a bit fast, just straight up using them on unpredictable entranceways. All right, so this is where almost every team pushes from, but occasionally you get that one team that comes from this angle, and that could throw our whole strategy off. All right, well, we'll put a couple of Legion's traps down on the way to it, and if we know either of those gets triggered, we at least have the information that someone is coming from that direction, and then we can adjust because of it. We know they're still going to have plenty of health. They're not going to be slowed down that much because it doesn't take too long to pull out, but at least we know they're there, and that information can be very, very powerful.
Exactly.
Now, how do you feel? We're introducing more trap operators into the game. We have also reduced the effectiveness of barbed wire. The movement speed reduction is now only 45% as opposed to 50, and they're more easily destroyed. So how do you feel like the overall speed of the game is going to change as a result of both these operators and the barbed wire change?
If the barbed wire change hadn't come in, but the operators alone had, the game was going to slow down dramatically.
A lot.
That's the thing. But because the barbed wire changes come in with the operators, I don't think we're going to see too much of a change in pace, because we're not seeing all of these operators at the same time.
Right.
They don't fit to make a strong composition with all 4 trap operators in, with Frost and Kapkan included. So we'll only be seeing a couple of them here and there. Frost is already very low play. Kapkan is virtually never played. There's a Lesion, perhaps not that strong. Ella's going to be the one that comes on in.
Poor Kapkan.
And while I don't feel she's going to slow down pushes so much, she's going to force more resources to be used on one push. So you'll see a team come in and be, all right, this is what we want to go for. We'll use up our EMPs, we'll use up our switch drones on pushing in this way. And then once they've done that, they're going to have nothing left for any other options. So it's going to be a case of all our timing and all our push has to go in through this specific path that we've cleared. And if they get to, say, the final minute of the round and the defenders are still alive and they're still dug in deep and you can't make a hole in their defense, you don't have the time to rotate around and try another entrance, try another angle in, because you can't take out the concussion grenade. You can't shift the operation from that angle. You are committed to one push. So I don't think the timing's going to be a thing, but it's going to force people to be more committed to one single push than flexible.
Now, speaking of kind of funneling the attacker's push, what have you found in your experience with Ella and Lesion to be like the best deployment angles, or where to deploy those gadgets to have the most effectiveness?
With Legion, I think, again, sort of as Panky covered too, just farther out, mostly just for information gathering, or if you're going to play like Legion as a roamer, you know, several doorways around you that you can all respond to within that 1.5 seconds. Being able to turn and move quick enough to react, because you know, especially upon initial release, people are going to be nervous that it's there, immediately hit F and immediately take it out. So they're going to always be vulnerable right when it goes off. And if you're within like a under 2-second response time to wherever you place all those traps, you can effectively just pick up kills as a roamer without actually having to look around. You just wait for them to go off and then get them.
Absolutely.
With Ella, I think her placement would be a lot better closer to the bomb sites for those last-minute pushes, because when you have to run in and go through that tiny bit more barbed wire and then get hit by a stun grenade and all that, it's going to be very hard to win those last-minute anchor gunfights against Rook and Doc and whoever else is inside there.
There's also a few spots on some maps where one Ella concussion charge can cover multiple points of entry because of the 4-meter range on it. Something like the bank basement vault, the server's location, you can stick one not quite directly, but just underneath the trapdoor in the server's location. And someone coming out of the tunnel and someone coming out of the stairways and dropping through the trapdoor will all trigger it. So you can sit there in one relatively safe spot, either just inside the bomb site door or behind the server rack itself, and knowing that no matter which one of those 3 doors they come in through, they're going to get hit by a concussion mine. And that's something that you feel very safe. Or like Oregon basement, towards the back end of the site, 2 concussion mines cover that entire back end, one in the corridor and one in that small room that leads directly to the bomb site. And you have that entire back end cut off by 2 concussion mines.
So you no longer need somebody roaming around there to try to figure it out.
To keep an eye on all the different options, you just one mine and all of those options are covered. So that kind of strength is going to really impact where you place these Ella things, and it's going to be a case of just playing her more and more on all the older maps and the new maps and just figuring out which of these little pixel-perfect spots to place them there to cover as many different entrances as possible.
I do think Siege was sort of hitting a point where attack and defend was kind of melding together. The best way to defend was to attack very aggressively, runouts, constant roaming, all that. I think a lot of these changes, and I really like it, is trying to bring a real directive meta to attacking and defending. You know, we'll talk about attacking a lot more tomorrow with the smokes changes and all that, but the defending changes, by giving you more of this information, allow you to actually play spots and defend spots instead of kind of we're all just going to roam everywhere and attack attackers once they start attacking.
Absolutely. So given given all the different other changes that we have coming in, we saw just briefly the new reflex sight on Ella's pistol.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
It's good. We may see people switching to a pistol more often than just sucking it up and going for a reload and trying to get a main weapon back out again. I would like to see it on all the pistols just to make them a little bit more user-friendly. But
or zoomed out, you know, instead of in my teeth.
Oh, yeah, something like
that would be great.
But it just comes back to the fact that most of the reload animations on main weapons in this game aren't that long, and most of the firefights are over quick enough that if you have to switch to the pistol, you're going to be right up in front of a person and can probably knife them instead.
Right.
Because of the one-shot headshots and the fast fire rate of so many weapons.
Unless you're Dottie, apparently.
Yeah, unless you spend your entire game playing pistol only, which is what Dottie likes to do.
Maybe that's why he's so famous for the Dottie donuts.
Yeah, when you try and
because you know he's trying.
Good
he's trying.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's fun. It's a nice addition. We'll see some players like Dottie pistol only and using the red dot very effectively. But in a grand scheme of her overall strength, pistol never really plays into anyone's real game.
The immediate thought I had with it was this needs to be on IQ's pistol. That would instantly make IQ a more viable pick because you would be able to get headshots and see what you're looking at. Right now, pistols they just obstruct so much of your screen. They do the total opposite of what a pistol is supposed to do. They lower your mobility. They lower the information you can gather around you. They make it harder to see things. And with IQ, it makes her device extremely dangerous. You can't react. You can't defend yourself. It takes a while to put away and pull your primary back out. But having that reflex on her thing would be phenomenal. So it was very cool to see it put into the game and work okay.
Awesome. So overall, where do you see Lesion kind of fitting into, first off, the Pro League meta, but also for high-level ranked play, Chris?
Pro League meta, I don't see Lesion fitting, unless some teams go and build strategies like entirely around him and his gadget, which is unlikely considering the strength of other operators. No. Considering the strength of other defensive operators we have right now, I don't see a reason to switch any of them out for him. Ella, yes, we can see a lot more of her, perhaps in place of smoke on certain bomb sites we save. He is there primarily on some bomb sites for those last second pushes, for those holding those final 30 seconds. Ella's concussion mines can do that very, very well as well. So we may see her brought in, maybe not always for smoke, but for that kind of style. But yeah, Lesion not so much whatsoever either way.
Derek, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, where Legion's at right now, he will be hilarious to use in mid-level matchmaking. I mean, people will be all kinds of clueless all the time when they run over, especially the people who are very much into the whole Shift W, Ash main, go meta right now. I think that will be funny, but ultimately, without some type of tweak and overhaul to bring him to some level of more reliability is the biggest thing. The fact that people can just walk around them so easily without even knowing that they walked by them kind of alleviates any real high-level gameplay for him.
Interesting. Now, one of the other things that we've released with Patch 3.0 and Operation Blood Orchid are new and improved smoke grenades. In the past, you could throw a smoke grenade and you were never really sure whether or not what you were seeing was what your enemy was seeing, and there was some risk involved. And there's now completely opaque for all players. How do you feel like that's going to play into to the overall meta, and especially in terms of where Glass fits in with that?
Well, that's huge because previously at the pro level of the games, you were seeing smoke grenades used just to take out trophy system charges. Like, all right, there's a trophy system in this room because there's always one in there. A couple of smoke charges in. All right, they're gone, they're wasted, but the trophy system's dead. Now we can use real grenades. Now we can use flashbangs. That kind of thing's not a case anymore. So these smokes are very valuable. One, everyone's lost once. There's only 2 per operator now. 2, when you throw a smoke grenade out, you can trust that they cannot see you.
You can totally shut a major portion of a room, hallway, anything down now very reliably and not worry about what people can do or see through it, whether the smoke will plume a little to the left and show your face perfectly to everybody.
Exactly. So that will make them very viable. I don't think it's going to change too much on Glaz's front because right now, even with the smokes being as they were unreliable, they still worked more often than they failed, but when they failed, it was just infuriating. But even with that, Glaz wasn't picked because his rifle just not quite reliable enough, not quite enough damage in there, and his ammo count was still a bit low. Yes, the ammo count has been up recently, I believe, again in the patch, but it was just too unreliable of a DMR to really have him used as any kind of firepower.
Although now it does open drops, too.
Oh.
I don't know if you guys knew that one.
Don't think that really matters at all.
No.
So
unless for some reason it doesn't get reinforced or something. I don't know.
Some reason, yeah. But no, I mean, we've still got sledge operators, we've still got shotguns on a couple. But yeah, I don't think Glaz will come back a lot because of these smoke changes, but the smokes themselves are going to play a much bigger role in operators and attacks now.
Absolutely. And just real quick, thoughts on Theme Park as a map? again, real quick.
Don't immediately hate it. So need more time to play it, but compared to some of the other maps,
answer.
Yeah, there's been other maps we've jumped on and we've immediately gone, this is
not
horrible to play.
crap.
But Theme Park has some potential. I don't immediately hate it.
Yeah. Well, you are going to be able to play it in ranked playlists now. We recently
right.
updated the ranked playlist to include the 9 Pro League maps and our new seasonal map, Theme Park. So you will not have to play casual or custom games to have a chance to run through it, which we're all really excited about.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's going to be a lot of fun. So
and it doesn't seem like a map that will be bad to show up in ranked. You know, it seems very cool. It seems very learnable, and it seems like there is some direction to it. And yeah, I like it a lot so far.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for joining us. Operation Blood Orchid is releasing on September 5th for all platforms, as well as through patch 3.0. You can check out the patch notes for Operation Blood Orchid at rainbow6.com/bloodorchid. Again, 1,300 bug fixes. It is the magnum opus of Operation Health.
And he did them all himself. What a guy.
Well, Justin did help. It was we split the work, but it was a lot of typing for sure. But we're really excited about the release of this new operation, or new DLC on September 5th. We'd love to see you on the subreddit. And thank you again, Derek and Chris, for joining me. Well,
thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We're glad to be reunited here.
We are. It feels good.
It's great to have you here. So thank you all again, and we will see you tomorrow. We're going to be discussing the attacking operator Ying and her Candela charges, her Candela device, as well as the new recoil changes that we're going to be looking at in the future.
Those are very good.
We have not talked about this yet anywhere, and it is not coming with Season 3, but it is something that we're looking towards for the future in Year 2, maybe the beginning of Year 3, but it should be really exciting. Same time tomorrow, same channel. We'll see you then. Thank you.